Alright, back at the Ames Brothers Pyramid. Monument to corrupt politicians, of course, right? Isn't that the only kind that get monuments built to them? Actually, one was the chairman, I believe, of the Union Pacific Railroad Company, and the other one was a congressman. Pretty neat lighting effects out here though today, especially with the rain coming down over here. That's a pretty neat little rock formation right there. There's a lot of those just kind of jutting out of the landscape around here towards Vedawoo. Medicine Bow National Forest. There it is, the stark monument to greatness. It's almost kind of a step pyramid if you look at it. If you see those stones, it's interesting on that top step, the ones on the corners are kind of rounded. So it's a different style of pyramid for sure. Ziggurat almost. And the birds seem to enjoy it. Nice little perch spot. But yeah, so I did a little reading on this place. I know my hair's getting all messed up, but you know what? I haven't showered for like 3 days, so kind of expected. And actually I just spotted something over here. Maybe it's some of the granite. They used to have little plaques with some kind of information on them, right? But I'm not sure if they were stolen or vandalized or what, but I don't see any plaques. I don't know if this is some remnants of the rock that was quarried or something here. It looks real similar, so yeah, it's got these little markings. It's kind of neat. Little drill marks. So maybe they left that there. This over here. It's just kind of a I don't know, piece of history. Actually, there's a town. This is the main relief here of one of the Ames brothers, facing to the east. This little scrunched pyramid. Pretty stern looking fellows, aren't they? Pretty stern. So let me pull out my trusty smartphone so I can sound smart. Here's one of the stern fellows himself. It's Mr. Oak Ames. Yeah, they didn't tend to smile too much in photographs back then. Yeah, the Ames brothers were a pretty famous monumental men, I guess, in the history of America. We have Ames, Iowa, right? Famous location of all those infamous straw polls. And Ames, Nebraska, named each respectively after a different Ames brother. And so it was dedicated, they say, on this page, on this article, November 17th, 1881. So it's got some age, this thing. I know it's been touched up a few times here and there. As for Congressman Ames' role in the building of the Transcontinental Railroad, consider he was a primary advocate and a standard bearer for the project. He played an oversized role in the building of the transportation network that was fundamental to the young republic taking a huge step to securing viability, durability, and influence internationally. Oaks Ames and his brother Oliver Ames Jr. Were heirs to great wealth through their family shovel empire, Ames and Sons. So according to what I read, they made a fortune off of selling shovels to miners during the gold rush in California. So it says in 1862, Oaks Ames loaned $200,000 to help get the construction of the Central Pacific component of the Transcontinental Railroad up and running. So that's a lot of money back then. In 1863, Oaks Ames was elected to represent the 2nd District of Massachusetts in the U.S. House of Representatives. He became a member of the House Committee on Railroads, conveniently, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. A committee which had as a primary responsibility the writing of laws and legislation governing the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. So in 1864, Congressman Ames steered legislation to create and have passed an amended version of the Pacific Railroad Act, which had been signed into law 2 years earlier. You can still hear that train whistle blowing. This used to actually be the site of the highest point on that Transcontinental Railroad. Standing at 8,247 feet, just 20 miles east of Laramie, Wyoming. Until they moved the railroad down further south to save a few miles as they cut through the Aspen Tunnel. So it kind of became a little bit of a abandoned landmark. No longer would people stop on their way during their journeys as the engine repairmen would do their work. They'd all get out and be encouraged to climb on top of this monument. And what a great way to have a captive audience, right? To promote your own name, your own legend, right? So it goes on. In 1864, Congressman Ames steered legislation to create and have passed an amended version of the Pacific Railroad Act, which had been signed into law 2 years earlier. The new act authorized and provided funding for the Pacific, soon to be called Union Pacific, stretch of the Transcontinental Railroad that would run westward from Iowa and meet up with the Central Pacific Railroad being built eastward from San Francisco. In January 1865, with the end of the Civil War on the horizon, President Abraham Lincoln called Congressman Ames into his office to request that Mr. Ames become the point person on the completion of the Union Pacific, which was bogged down and behind schedule. President Lincoln said to Congressman Ames, "You take hold of this, the road must be built, and you are the man to do it. Take hold of it yourself. By building the Union Pacific, you will be the remembered man of your generation." So that definitely appealed to his massive, oversized ego, right? Hence the massive relief up there. Bust. In 1879, the Union Pacific purchased land at the highest elevation through which the Transcontinental Railroad ran for the purpose of erecting the spot of a monument to the Ames brothers. Yeah, on the western side of the pyramid was the bas relief of Oaks Ames, and on the eastern side, Oliver Ames. Both designed by Mr. St. Gaudens, and they even say President Rutherford B. Hayes attended the dedication in 1882 of the Ames Monument. 60 feet by 60 feet width and height. They always seem to like that number 6, don't they? A 4-sided, 60-foot high random ashlar pyramid, they say. And that's the stacking of the different rocks. It is kind of cool how it is kind of a random design, but at the same time so much symmetry, right? Whew. It's getting windy again. So I read on another website that there was supposedly a hidden chamber in here somewhere, whereby which the Ames brothers might have been buried someday, but supposedly they never were. They're buried back where they came from. I can't remember exactly where now. But
Ames Monument also contains passageways and hollow spaces.
The pyramid is hollow to save labor and materials.
In October of 2010, under the direction of the state of Wyoming, skilled masons opened up one of the narrow passageways into the structure and allowed architects to map out its interior.
It was just a real high point in my life, that moment of getting in there and standing up and looking around.
To walk around in it, there's like a 6-foot passage that goes around the interior of the pyramid around a central mass. And the stones that are in there kind of hang out and jut out, and they're very crude, and there's no floor to speak of. It goes up and down, and at the corners on the interior are some columns that you can go through, and in one corner there is carved out sort of a bigger room-like, and so there may have been gatherings in there of the workers. There are some recesses in the space.
Since the 2010 mapping, the entrance to the monument has been resealed and entry is forbidden.
yeah, it is tempting. Like, it would be so much fun. It would be pretty easy to climb up this thing. Like a little climbing wall, jungle gym. But they say these days, you know, freedom being what it is, fleeting. They say you can't climb up it no more. But yeah, it's sprinkling and the wind is blowing, so the audio is probably not the best. So I'm going to stay over here on the south side of the pyramid and read a few things for you guys about the history of this here monument. See, this one we actually know the creator, and we know the commissioner, the one who commissioned it. Actually was the Union Pacific Railroad. And a little bit about the history and the reasoning, you know, at least the surface level, right, of why this monument was commissioned. Unlike other mysterious monuments in the past, which have since been destroyed, like the Georgia Guidestones. Yeah, it's still pretty amazing just to stand next to this thing. It's tons and tons of concrete. They were saying some of these stones, I think they were in the ballpark of 40 tons. I might be wrong on that. Might be wrong, might be right. 20 to 40 tons. And this pink granite that they used was hauled in from a nearby quarry. And of course this is a rough cut. You know, the stones have been left rough on the exterior. And so that's actually symbolic, I guess, if you want to look into it. Want to read into things at all. Because I'm sure that there were masons involved in the construction of this pyramid. As it shows there, these kind of staggered, randomized blocks that all just kind of still have some kind of a pattern, right? Because they're shaped, they're cut out in the shape of a pyramid. Just some rough symbolism from Freemasonry. The rough ashlar stone, and they get a lot of this from the Bible, right? Like we are, the temple of God is made up of fleshly stones, right? Some of the writings of Paul and the other New Testament writers. Mostly Paul, I think. And so they would only trust the early, let me see here. Yeah, apprentice masons cut and raised rough ashlars under the supervision of more experienced craftsmen called fellow crafts. The work was accomplished under the watchful eye of the master mason of the craft. those who had proved the ability to make their master's peace to the satisfaction of their supervisors. So in Freemasonry, according to this website, there are two forms of ashlars. Rough ashlar and operative Freemasonry. The rough ashlar represents a rough, unprepared, undressed stone, like you see here. In speculative Freemasonry, a rough ashlar is an allegory to the uninitiated Freemason prior to his discovering enlightenment, right? Yes, they're so enlightened, aren't they? Some of those past presidents who were Freemasons who pushed for a new world order and all that. Perfect ashlar. Operatively, the perfect ashlar represents the dressed stone after it has been made uniform and smooth by the use of the working tools, the common gavel, mallet, and chisel. Only after the stone had been dressed by an experienced stonemason can it be suitable to be placed into the architectural structure or building. Speculatively, the perfect ashlar is the allegory to a Freemason who, through Masonic education, works to achieve an upstanding life and diligently strives to obtain enlightenment, right? So I think it's kind of interesting, just kind of a little speculation how this was left. Very much rough cut stones, right? I guess you could say a little bit like the character of those men who had such great ambition. Like the congressman and the head of the Union Pacific Railroad, and how they kind of leveraged the state and the taxpayer dollars to forge through the wilderness this transcontinental railroad, while at the same time making themselves filthy rich, right? Congressman Ames was at one point censured for they were basically overcharging the taxpayer, right? Like, who would have thunk, right? Like, who would have ever been able to trace, you know, how much it would have cost to do something that has never been done before, right? So according to this website, Oliver served as president of Union Pacific Railroad from 1866 to 1871, while Oakes, a U.S. representative from Massachusetts, asserted near total control of its construction. In 1873, investigators implicated Oakes in fraud, associating with financing of the railroad, and Congress subsequently censored Oakes, who resigned in 1873 and died soon thereafter. And I thought it was kind of interesting. Both of them, right after the allegations of cheating the taxpayers out of funds, died very shortly after. And who knows if they actually died or if it's just they just kind of went into hiding to avoid any jail time. Who knows, right? But I just think it's ironic, this tribute to crony capitalism out here in the all but forgotten out here in the plains, windswept plains, windy Wyoming. Nothing new under the sun, right? Nothing's really changed. What has been done shall be done. There's nothing new under the sun. But still makes for a pretty interesting thing to look at, right? Born January 1804, died May 8th, I believe, 1873. Born in November 1807, died March 1877. Not only this one is missing his nose, but he's also missing his mouth. It's brutal. Pretty detailed relief though when you really look up close at it. You can see how the same artist designed the was it one of the coins on the eagles? Just give you some idea of the scale. I'm going to set my camera down. Makes you wonder if, like so many Masonic monuments, something hidden within this pyramid, or underneath it even. A lot of times they'll hide time capsules, some hidden message for the future. I guess we'll never know. It's highly unlikely anyway. One thing we can be sure of from history is that no temple, no tower, no pyramid, nothing made with human hands will withstand the test of time and eternity. One day even this monument will be left in rubble. The only temple that will endure is the temple built by God Himself. We're told from the scripture that we are the stones of the living temple of God. But we need to allow God to polish those stones, because no rough cut stones will be allowed in His kingdom on the new earth, when all these works of vanity are burned up and destroyed forever. And the only one worth worshiping will be the Almighty, Creator of all things. God bless everybody. This is Night Watch Nate. Catch you next time.